All right. We are live. Good Gratitude Day, everybody. Destiny Muhammad here. And for those of you who are tuning in to the replay, ooh.
Facebook is still waiting.
Okay, I don't know what that is.
Okay.
For those of you who may be tuning in to the replay, this is November the 3rd, 2021. It is a Wednesday, and this is the Destiny Muhammad Trio in Digital Residency. And this is...
Shut off here. Shut the phone off. It's repeating.
It's not on anything.
Okay.
Yeah. So
it's live.
It's live. It's live.
Yeah.
And so thank you all so much. This is like TV back in the day, in the early days. So please forgive us for any faux pas. So this is sponsored by Chamber Music America. They were kind enough to invite me to do a digital residency when we would have possibly been able to do it in person, but due to the restraints of COVID, we are doing it virtually. So we're so pleased to have you all tune in and enjoy this experience. So this first day of the residency is going to be an interview that's going to be moderated by wonderful KCSM and KPFA personality, Greg Bridges. And for any of you know Greg Bridges, this brother has been supportive of the jazz scene since dirt got dirty, as Sister Avachi would say. So we are so pleased to have him on board to moderate the interview. And we invite you to type any of your questions that you may have inside the chat, and we'll answer those questions as quickly as we possibly can. So I am going to turn this over to Greg Bridges, and who's on board with me before I do that is Leon Joyce Jr., who is drummer, percussionist, Chico Lopez, who is upright bassist and just an all-around good guy. And in the house with us now also is my wonderful husband, Chriswell Muhammad. So I'm going to turn it over, and Greg, you just go right ahead and have at it. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Thanks for inviting me to be a part of this. Man, for folks who don't understand what this means, it's when you think about the harp and its place in music, there are very few names that come to mind. We think of Dorothy Ashby and Alice Coltrane of the past. You know, there's Carol Robbins and Brandy Younger of today. But a name that has moved in there on this instrument and has established her own voice and has used it not only as a form of entertainment, but also a form of spiritual upliftment has been Destiny Muhammad. So I got to give you props and big up on that. And whether you've heard Destiny, as a solo artist, or you may have heard her with a larger ensemble or with her trio, you always hear her voice on that harp standing out and speaking out and giving some kind of upliftment through spirit. So thank you for that, Destiny. Man, I got to give this trio a big up. Leon and Chico, it's been a pleasure hearing you guys with Destiny over the past couple of years. And, Destiny, as I mentioned, you've been heard in several different settings. When you formed this band, was the initial thought to just stop with the trio, or did you have anything in particular in mind?
Well, thank you for that question, because I do love a large ensemble, and you've seen me do that with the Alice Coltrane tribute that I've done. Well, one of the things I really enjoy about the trio is, like European chamber music, you can't hide, and everybody has to boss up. Sometimes if you have maybe 6, 8, 10 other players, you kind of cheat a little bit, and kind of play a little bit. But with the trio, each one of us has to be strong. And I think of those power trios, Chick Corea and Robert Glasper and such. I think of power trios like that, and I want to walk in that vein. I still do enjoy to revisit the larger ensemble. However, I love how it forces me to play at my strongest and at my best, because everyone is depending on me in a three pyramid situation, if you will.
Well, introduce us to the other members of the trio and tell us exactly what it is about each member that you felt they had to be the one?
Wow. So, hmm, it's so crazy.
And
It's so
even though they're watching us, you can
I'm right here.
still lay
right
out
here.
the truth.
I think, wow, so I will share that. So I met Leon, Crystal and I met Leon, I want to say 2012 at the Jazz Heritage Tent Center that was in San Francisco at a jam session. And Crystal had come pulling my harp in and we played on the last song of the jazz session, and we became friends, like really fast friends. I enjoyed his playing. He thought it was kind of interesting to see me there doing my thing on harp in jazz. And so we just became friends. And so I said, I'm starting to do this trio thing that I'm doing. And at that time I had been studying with ancestor Khalil Shaheed in the Oaktown Jazz Workshop, and was really started to really cut my teeth, really not just exploring, but stepping with both feet into jazz. So, and really using those foundational conversations of jazz from Miles and the ancestor John Coltrane. And so Leon came on, and I said, I'm doing this thing. Would you like to come out and play with me? He said, sure. Sound like fun. Let's do it. So I invited him out to come and play. And then at that time it was Ken Noriyuki Okada, who was coming in and out as well. Ken is a wonderful bass player and had a lot going on, and he needed to step out. And then we have Mark Hashima Williams, and he was starting to tour with Idris Akamor of Pyramids and the cultural. Is the name of his huge organization? It's really wonderful Cultural Odyssey. Thank you, Cultural Odyssey. So Hashima started to tour with them, and I had just gotten a call from Devorah Major, former poet laureate of San Francisco. Would I be willing to compose music for her play Classic Black, the voices of African Americans in 19th century San Francisco? And Hashima had just had to step off, and I was like, oh, who am I going to get for a bass player? Because I already knew the sound that I wanted. And at that time, I had also Doug Ellington, trumpeter, on board, because I really needed a quartet, and I needed a trumpet based on the sonic conversation of that play. So I said, but I really want a bass player. So I said, Leon, do you know somebody that you at least like to play with? Because what I found is that it's good to be able to bring people together, but I really enjoy when folks bring folks with them that they enjoy to play with. One of my favorite words is the word conspiracy, and in its Latin origins, it's con spiritus, breathing together. And when we're all breathing together, there's something that's called magic that happens in the music. And when people like each other, it's really there. So Leon says, well, there's this youngster named Chico. I think he might be a good fit. I said, okay. And he had met Chico through Doug. So here you had he had a trio already working together that were going to come and work with me. And this was all original music that I was composing for this play for Devorah Major that had its debut at the San Francisco International Art Festival. This is 2015. And so Chico stepped in and literally learned original music. I mean, not based on anybody else's sonic abilities. This is all of my original music. And he stepped right in. There weren't any crumbs. He said, is it what you're saying right here? And he would play it back to me, and I would say, yes. Now, Liam, on the other hand, would come back and say, look, straighten that up. But Chico said, oh, this is what you're saying. Okay, so we got that. Right. So that's what I loved is that Chico was really excited about my original music, and he just stepped right in. And I really enjoyed that. When he brought his voice to the conversation, it was better than I had imagined. And when I would share it when I would share my charts that I had written out myself, to Leon, he said, well, for a drummer, you need to write it this way. And see, what I really enjoy is this partnership collaboration that both of them brought to the table. They brought their own musical excellence, but they could also hear what I was hearing and also hear their possibilities in the music. And it makes it more, again, the Kona spiritus, that breathing together that is really electric when you hear it on stage or just in a conversation that we're having with one another, even such as now.
Yeah, some of the some of the greatest trios in music have that whatever it is, you know, that synchronicity with each other. I mean, you mentioned Chick Corea earlier, you know,
The
Red
new
Garland's
ancestors.
trios,
Yeah.
you know, many
Ahmad
trios,
Jamal,
Ahmad
MZ.
Jamal especially, man.
Oh man.
Man, Leon, Destiny is giving you credit for bringing Chico in. Now, as a drummer, you know, no matter what form of music it is, the drum and the bass are the heartbeat of it, the pulse. You know,
That's
there
true.
has to be that link between the drummer and the bassist for it really to work out right. You know, what was it
Yes.
about Chico that you were hearing back then that you know that fit with what you wanted?
I liked his heart and his spirit, the way he played and how he applied himself to the instrument, and he listens, and that's a big important thing, especially bringing in young cats into the realm of trio or into jazz music. Everybody has to be able to listen to what's going on. And that was one of the beauties and one of the attributes that I really liked with playing with Chico. Again, I got got exposed to him and introduced to him via Doug Ellington on some gigs that I was doing with him, and Chico was the bass player. And so, you know, we would figure things out on the stage, and I could suggest things to him either verbally or how I was playing, and he would pick up on those types of things, especially when we were locking into like funk grooves and that kind of thing. And
Mhm.
when we were doing the swing things, you know, the drummer and the bass player have to be on the same page as far as tempo and style of what's going on. In swing, you can there's two different ways of interpreting the time, either in straight eights or swing eights, and that's a big difference of how the time is going to be laid down. And whenever I changed the feel, Chico was right there with me, and I said this would be a good fit for Destiny because I knew she was in search of a bass player.
Mhm. Chico, that same question for you. You know, as a bassist, as I said before, that bass and drum connection is very important, no matter what genre of music we're talking about. You know, as a bassist, um, tell me about your experience with Leon. You know, how do you feel, and how do you feel that Leon um, works with you?
Oh man, when I play with Leon, I feel like he's the quarterback, and he's just saying, "Here's the ball, run," and he's always got it planned out and mapped out. Like I mean, I rarely hear drummers that can accent, the melody, just phrases in each section, like very clearly. He's marking where we're at and stuff, and so um, he really lays down the foundation for me to have so much freedom, and then it's just the rhythm's there, and he's a hell of a player, man, and I just try to lock in with him and hit those punches and them little breaks with him, and yeah, it's really it's a pleasure to play with Leon. So for me, every time I get a chance to play with him, I'm like, all right, let's do this. Let's bring it. Let's give it all I got. Because every time we get together is just a special. It's a special time, special moment. So I feel like don't take any of these experiences for granted. You know what I mean? Like let's get it. Let's get at it. and let's have a conversation. And sometimes these conversations are even better than speaking the words. Sometimes, like, it's just I can't explain it. You you either know it or you don't. But when yeah, man, I remember hitting with them at we were hitting somewhere in like Woodside with Doug at like some real where was it the Rosewood or somewhere. It was like a private party, and whew, I just remember this cat swinging, and I'm like, dang, I gotta pick up my game, And at the time, I was kind of really getting back into jazz and stuff, and so it kind of like really lifted me up to really to really take it serious and pursue it. And when you have people that are like Leon and Destiny that have been around the world and stuff and played with the best out there, it's like it's an eye opener. So every time I get in it, man, I'm like, all right, man, let's do this. And I tell Chris every time I go, man, we're gonna do this, man. We're gonna hit him. Bam, So that's I kind of think of it as sports, almost like I grew up playing a lot of sports. So when we get in the pocket, I feel like it's no different than Steph passing Klay Thompson the ball. Boom, time to shoot, hitting that jumper. And I feel it's very similar with music and with the drummer and bass player, that there's that dynamic of they got to be in unison. And like when I hear him going, I'm like, and he'll switch rhythms on me and go to some Cuban rhythm, like, oh, coño, okay, let's go. And we have fun with it. And I know that's where he's going. And if sometimes, we on the spot, things just come out and yeah, it's really been a blessing, just put it that way. So,
well, right on. Yeah. So Chico and Leon, you already had a familiarity with each other. Destiny, when you brought them together, when exactly did you know that this is the foundation you're going with? Was it during rehearsal? Was it, maybe on the first gig, or did it take a couple of gigs? You're on mute.
We did that play, Let Me Know. Because we did 4 days at Fort Mason. And each day just got better. And while we were at Fort Mason, we got a call from Azumo's, the Japanese club, the sushi house in San Francisco. Literally right on the heels of that, we got invited by Azumo's to come in and do a jazz session that they were hosting a week of there. And I think we only did 1 date there, but the chemistry for me, you so funny, beloved. Matter of fact, this photo is from that date.
Where I'm at.
Right. Chris, you gotta move it over so you can see BB.
There he is.
This photo is from that date in 2015 at Azumo's. And we literally got that call to come and play at Azumo's and do like a 2-hour set there. And it was like we hadn't even stopped. We went straight from the stage at Fort Mason to this cool little club. And it was then that I said, we got something here. There's that chemistry that I wanted, that's akin to family. And sometimes families are together, or twins are together, or triplets. They almost cut one another off, or they say the same thing verbally. And I felt like, and even now I feel like that now. And so that it was then, like I said, 2015 was when it really felt like it. And we started getting these dates, and I said, can you all come out? And it's not like Leon lives right around the corner. This boy lives in Monterey. And he would drive up we had a early morning church session at, I'm trying to think of the name of this church, where they had invited the community in on Broadway here in Oakland. And I think our downbeat was like at about 8 a.m. This boy come up with his eyes bleeding almost. And Chico,
Do what I gotta do.
but I mean, literally, we have been working together. I mean, just back to back. And Chico, his family was starting to grow, and he had just moved into a new house. And he said, "Des, I want to come and play." He said, "But I got to take care of my family." And this is something that I so appreciate with him and Leon. If they really need to take care of their family, they will apologize profusely, but they need to take care of that immediately family first. And this is what was happening with Chico. I want to say of December of 2015. He had just moved into a house, and he's got skills that are likened to his skills as a bass player. And he took pictures of the foundation that he was laying in his house himself. It wasn't like he was telling other folks to do. This boy was doing himself. I said, "You know what, man? I'll see you sometime in January. Handle that, and I will see you when you get back. We holding space for you, because that kinesthetic thing is there, and it's fun and fabulous at the same time."
Yeah. I've over the years, I keep watch on your calendar, see what you're doing. I see, announcements popping up here and there. Sometimes with the trio, sometimes some solo things or spiritual retreats that you do. But it's looked like you were being quite busy, during a certain period of time. And then March of 2020 hit, the pandemic, shelter in place, which cut out gigs, which cut out, rehearsal time, which cut out human contact. So from going to being a very busy, unit to a standstill, how did that affect each of you, personally, and also, of course, professionally, musically?
Well, all the musicians that are out there, we had to recreate ourselves if we wanted to continue to work in our field. So learning how to do what we do online via Zoom or whatever platform you use and stuff, we were under a huge learning power curve to be able to survive. I kind of got thrusted into it. Flugelhorn player from Washington State comes down, and I do work with him, Dimitri.
Dimitri Matheny?
Yeah, Dimitri Matheny.
Yeah, former Bay Area cat.
Exactly. He had some music clinics that he was sponsoring, and he wanted me to be the percussion dude. And there he had some trumpet players and pianists and bass players, all these different people that were doing clinics on this platform that he had. And he asked me to be the percussionist for it. So I said, yeah, sure. So I kind of got thrusted into this, the Zoom thing, and had to buy equipment, microphones, and all this kind of stuff, and get myself geared up to be able to do the online thing. And that has really been a plus for the musicians that took the time to learn those skills, because now we don't necessarily have to be in a location to be able to bring in income. So it was in some ways it was a shock to our systems. But once we figured it out and people started sharing this information freely amongst us in the community, in the music community, then it just opened up a whole nother way for us to do what we do.
Yep.
I saw the man. I saw that. I enjoyed seeing some of the things that were coming out of that. Some of the live streaming, some of the ways that musicians were making to keep in contact with an audience. So I enjoyed seeing it, but then I also kind of felt and feel that as much as I enjoy it, there's also this a bit of a disconnect.
Yes.
Especially with a group like yours, with a person like Destiny. I mean, with musicians as a whole, who are used to playing in front of a live audience, you're still playing, but there's an exchange of energy that happens in person.
Exactly. We
That
weren't getting the immediate feedback from the audience. So some of us kind of had to, like myself, what I had to do in those type of situations is had to place myself like I was in a studio.
Mhm.
When you're in the studio, you're not getting any feedback from any audience. You're just doing what you got hired to do for that particular recording session. So that's how I had to kind of deal with it with myself. Um, it's always great to have a live audience, and the musicians on stage do feed off of the reaction from the audience, and that takes us on our own emotional roller coaster as well, while we're performing. But during those type of situations, you're isolated. Um, People that are leading the units, they're trying to relay or trying to interact with the camera. You know,
right,
they know there's people out there viewing the show, but you can't hear anything. So
right,
in some instances, it was kind of funny when vocalists like Tiffany Austin was trying to act like people were sitting right there. Well, thank you. I'm glad that y'all really enjoy this, and I hear the applause. Those kind of things. So
right,
we had to be really, really creative to make the listening audience as comfortable as possible. But getting back to your point, the listening audience, a number of those people had commented to me either be it phone call, text, or email, saying that yeah, that was nice, but it's not the same as being in your presence and hearing the music.
right. No, it's not the same. Destiny, how did you find navigating through this period? Um, as you've stayed busy not just with your trio or with a group, but you also would travel and do solo things as well. So how did that affect you, and how did you navigate through it, or how are you navigating through it since some of this is just starting to come back?
You know, I can honestly say the prayer is the foundation for everything that I do, which you all know. And so, one, I was just grateful that we were all still alive. I just grateful that we were still alive. And even though all of our dates had been canceled, I said, I have to get into a mindset or a framework where I can play and still deliver and still feel that feeling that happens when I get in touch with a live audience. And I think part of the opportunity that I had is I played at farmers markets so much where it was just me. I'd be doing solo dates at the farmers market, and I borrowed on that mindset of just being able to play richly and just play fully when I was doing things solo. I got a chance to go down to the world stage in Los Angeles to play, and I was invited to play with two other musicians that were wonderful. And part of that was because the budget wasn't large enough for me to bring down Chico and Leon. And I was grateful that they actually had a budget, even though it wasn't large enough for me to bring them down, house them, and feed them. And again, we were in a situation where I'm playing with two other musicians where I had to virtually show them what I would do. We literally had a rehearsal like this where I'm talking them through what the movement is going to be, and then trusting them to deliver. And they delivered beautifully in the way that they could. Again, not saying that they were the cats that I'm breathing with on the regular. So I navigated and continue to navigate that way, as well as a large portion during this pandemic has been playing for virtual events. It is the most incredible thing to be doing background ambiance music for a virtual dinner. or a book or a book signing or like that. And my job is folks are being brought into the virtual room, if you will, when they're allowed to come in to be playing, and so they're greeted with elegant ambiance music. I literally had to go back in my head to a time where that was the large source of what I did before I stepped into band leader skills. In that same breath, we were invited by SF Jazz to come, and was that 20? That was 2020, wasn't it? That was December of 2020.
Yeah, almost a year ago now.
Almost a year ago, to come in, and one of the teaching artists for them, and to do my jazz and social justice with them, which you and I had an opportunity to have the conversation with Doug Karn, Calvin Keys, and the Skipper.
Right.
And so a part of that is that Leon and Chico and I were invited to come back into SF Jazz, but we could not be in the same room. So they had me on the minor stage, and they had Leon and Chico in the Joe Henderson lab, and they had confidence monitors put in front of us, and they turned the sound up in the minor hall. So I'm speaking about jazz and social justice, some vocals, and knowing and trusting that they're hearing me, and that the latency isn't going to be so intense where we just go, we just can't do it because we can't really hear one another. But to Leon and Chico's credit, we have been breathing together so much that they knew my every move, even virtually. And even today, I am so proud that footage is up on SF Jazz's their educational page, and they share it now. It's gone global, that particular performance, but we were the beta test because they didn't really know how it would work. But I think they said, call Destiny. I didn't. She's crazy enough to do it. She's crazy. That matter of fact, them two with her are crazy, and her husband is crazy too.
Well, that's really interesting. I mean, I was trying to picture that setup as you were talking about it. The Joe Henderson lab is on this side of the room, and the minor auditorium is a whole different room in a different space. And one of the things about trios that we mentioned earlier was that communication, especially some of the best trios. You think about the Bill Evans trio with Scott LaFaro and Paul Motian, or Wynton Kelly's trio with Paul Chambers and Philly Joe Jones, or Robert Glasper's trio with Vicente Archer and Damian Reed. There is a level of communication there that goes unspoken.
Yes.
Everybody seems to know where everybody else is navigating, or at least know how to ride that wave that's coming from the next person. Splitting up like that, being in two separate rooms, how did you all work it out? And did it feel the same for you?
I will say, if you all can let me speak first. So for me, for me, it was not the same. However, I was so happy that we were getting to play together, even though apart. I just had to go into my head, and it became telepathic, but because we've been playing together for a while, and we knew where one another was going to hit in a certain space. We could forecast what each one was going to do, even in separate rooms.
Right.
So I'm still very proud of that, because we did that.
Chico, you look like you were going to say something.
Oh no, I was pointing to Leon.
Oh, okay.
To take it.
Oh, you're gonna feed it to me? Fine. Well, as Chriswell has always said, since this configuration of the trio has come about, he has always said that we breathe the same air, and the way he sets us up, we're literally sitting in each other's laps, just about, we sit very, very close, and that allows us to do things and communicate in ways that the listening audience has no idea what's going on. And the way he sets up monitors for me, for us, for the trio, I call it the sound dome, where I'm literally being engulfed by everything that's on stage. Destiny, Chico, and myself. And that's a real comfort zone for me. And being in that particular situation over there where Destiny was removed from us, as she said, it was different. It wasn't the same. But again, they tried to make things as comfortable for us as possible. And under those circumstances, Chico and I were together. So again, the heartbeat of the trio, we were still in the same room and she was separate from us. So we had to make the adjustment of dealing with her or hearing her through headphones and all and a big video screen, TV screen that they had in front of us so we could see her, and we could only hear her through either headphones or however it is they sent her signal to us, and we were able to link up. So yes, it was different and it made things challenging for us, but we were able to pull it off because again, you know, we work with each other so long now, we can pretty much figure out who's going to do what at a given time.
Yeah. And the latency was really good. There was hardly any latency, so it made it a lot easier. Technology has come a long way, man. From I remember, tracking stuff, and you're listening back, and it's like, how come, it sounds like it's dragging, man. It sounds like it's dragging. It was pretty dialed in there, really good, which made it a lot, better also. So,
yeah.
Now, Chico, are you old enough to remember tape?
Yeah. I had cassette tapes. Yeah.
And editing the grease pen.
About reel to reel?
Yep.
No reel to reel.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
oh my
things have started opening up a bit. Live performances are happening again. More audiences are coming out. What's happening with the trio now?
Wow. So we're starting to get some dates, and we literally did a date before we even did I want to say it was before we did the date for SF Jazz. Inner Music SF invited us to come in, and they actually virtually did their San Francisco Music Day Festival, and we were invited to come in masked up. And so we were actually able to play together on that date, which was so exciting. So we had that, and there's footage of that that's available. And I was really proud of us then, even with the mask on and us being 6 feet apart, we were able to keep that kinesthetic feel going on. And then now as we move into 2021, I want to say we did do a date. I want to say that we did do a date not too long ago, but everything has been such a blur. I'm trying to remember what that was, and we have
the outdoor festival in Oakland. The women's outdoor thing in Oakland.
Oh yes, so we did this thing in East Oakland. We did good. No, we did real good.
Talk about challenges.
Lord, we're out in the Acoma Market. So we were out at the Acoma Market. Okay. Man, and they didn't want us on the grass because they were concerned it was going to tear up the grass because they had folks who were going to do yoga, and then they didn't have a canopy, and it was hot. But you know what? I tell you, God is good. We figured it out. Nobody got cussed out, and we were able to serve through sound beautifully. It was beautiful. We were able to serve really beautifully. And I'm trying to think, what else did we do post that? Because it was something else that we've done. But we're still moving forward into more dates. We have a date that's had to be reconfigured for December the 3rd, but I want to say that we have a date coming up together again in February. So we're working on music now for as we prepare to launch into 2022
with the Santa Cruz Symphony.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yes.
Is that just performance, or is that something that's also being recorded?
I want to say that's going to be recorded, and I need to talk to the conductor, Daniel Patrick Stewart, to see if it's going to be recorded, but that will be actually live with a full orchestra in Santa Cruz, and we're going to be there for 3 performances with them. Okay. Yeah.
I think I saw Andrew Spate's name pop up. Are you guys doing something with Andrew as well?
Well, we did a tribute to Alice Coltrane. We were invited by Craig Bright of Train Tracks. Okay. And he wanted us to come and to do another tribute to Alice Coltrane. He had previously attempted to secure us, I want to say right on the heels of our first tribute at SF Jazz. And there were some challenges just with things happening. And so he called us, he said, can you please do it this time? And we were supposed to do that tribute at a small theater in San Jose. And the day before, they had a huge power outage, and they were doing a rehearsal with a theater company, and the power went completely out in there. And so he literally, in a 24-hour period of time, big shout out to Rebecca Kleinman, flautist. She had a conversation with drummer Cynthia Cuenca.
Sylvia Cuenca.
Thank you, Sylvia Cuenca. And Sylvia said, well, why don't you go to House of Bob Andrews' spot? And so we talked to Craig, and he said, let's do it. And so we wound up literally on, I want to say it was Alice's birthday, at his spot doing the tribute to Alice Coltrane. And on board with us then, as we had shared the larger ensemble, was Rebecca Kleinman on flute, Richard Howell on sax, Laura Klein on piano, and us, the heart of the ideal. Here was Chico Lopez on upright bass and Leon Joyce Jr. on drums. And it was really beautiful. I mean, we were able to pull it off even with that stress level, because we were wondering, is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? You know, and just having to change venues. But Andrew's spot is pretty nice. Yeah. And I would invite folks to look at being in Andrew's spot. It's really nice.
Yeah, that was the last performance that we did. Right. Was there at Andrews. Mm-hmm.
Right. And because that was right after the Acoma market.
Mm-hmm. Lord have mercy. Okay. Well, right on. It's good to see that. I mean, you mentioned Andrew Spate's spot. You know, it's good to see that musicians are able to find other avenues, you know, other venues to be able to share their expressions, you know. Tell us about some of the more pleasant places that the trio has played, but also some of the funniest, I won't say unpleasant, but some of the memorable places you've played, and memorable for other reasons.
Oh, one other venue that we did mention, talking about recent things that we have done. Remember, we did the Healdsburg Jazz Fest.
Yes, that's right. We did do Healdsburg Jazz Fest. That was really lovely. Big shout out to
Marcus Shelby.
Yes, big shout out to Marcus Shelby for the shout out to come and do that on Juneteenth. So now, that was fun. We just before Chico, I think it was one of those dates that we had been invited to do at a little restaurant in Oakland, in Old Oakland, and Chico's baby was just his third child was just being ready to be born, and it was what's our little one's name that runs around before your son came? What's our
Anuea.
Anu. Before that, Anu was just a little girl, and so Chico couldn't come and do this date with us, and we won't say this bass player's name, But we had him invited to come. So you asked about one of the kind of funny, crazy. We won't say this person's name because he's a good dude. And so we had invited him to come out and play with us at this cute little restaurant. You already know, in Old Oakland. And he came in. He said, "Where's the piano?" And Leon said, "That ain't no piano." He said,
You're looking at it right there.
He pointed right at me. This dude was sweating bullets, and we were doing a straight jazz set. I mean, all blues and footprints, and so I brought out the foundational things because I knew that this would be comfortable for everyone, because we hadn't had a chance to have a rehearsal with him, and and Leon and I had been playing. This dude sweated the whole set. So that first set, he was sweating. He ran outside, and I think he smoked a cigarette down. It wasn't nothing but ash. Oh my gosh. And Leon was crying. I mean, he was laughing so hard he was crying. And you can always see Chris well. It was already happening. That was one of the funniest, craziest times that we have had. That was funny and crazy.
I mean, one long drag smoked down the whole cigarette.
That's right.
What was it that had him so disturbed? I mean, was it
because he was looking to see where he was used to being? For him, a trio was piano,
bass, and drums.
Yeah.
And so he's looking at the harp, and it's like, what's that gonna do?
Yeah. So again, in a trio, everybody's got to carry their own weight.
Right.
So you're not going to have the piano player playing those chords with the left hand. Right. Now that bass player has to be right on with his chord progressions and stuff. That's the bottom. If he's not playing in the basement, then the whole bottom of the trio drops out. And that's another thing that I love about Chico too, with his playing. A lot of these cats a lot of cats like to play in the mid and upper register on that bass. You can't do that in a trio because the bass is the lower voice of the trio.
That's that low end theory.
And can I share something with you? I was just listening to an interview with my sister friend Brandy Younger, who had just released. She was talking about her current LP that's out called Somewhere Different. Yes. And she had brought in the legend Ron Carter to play with her on this CD. And she had written an original piece. And she said that she's playing and she's trying to hold down the bass end and the treble. And she said, Mr. Carter said to her, "Stay out of my area."
There it is.
The bass man got his neighborhood.
Right.
And I was cracking up because she said, "How come no other bass player told me that?" And her dude, her wonderful fiance, Desron, said, "Because we didn't know how to tell you."
No other bass player is Ron Carter either. So,
Amen.
It is.
With that in mind, Leon, Chico, as I mentioned earlier, harp is a rare instrument, especially in this music that we call jazz. It's very seldom seen or heard. For each of you playing with a harpist, do you have to approach things differently? Do you have to listen differently, or is it the same as playing with a pianist, playing with a guitarist? Or
absolutely different. When Destiny asked me to be her percussionist, I immediately made the decision for myself that whatever I do with her, I'm not going to use drumsticks, because the nature of that instrument and the tonality and just the vibe that the harp puts out, drumsticks can really be overpowering for what, she is the melodic voice for the trio, and she needs to be heard. Mm-hmm. I'm all about support with whoever I play with. I like to be within the ensemble, not playing on the top. overpowering everything up there. My whole thing is about being part of the entire ensemble and making sure that my voice is equally balanced with the rest of the ensemble. With that being said, I have an array of brushes that I use. I use wire brushes. I have 2 different weight plastic brushes, and I have wood brushes that I use with her ensemble. Everything else that I do to allow me to express myself and still do my thing, swinging, funking, and everything else. I can do everything else, but I have to use, I choose to use brushes instead of sticks. And that's how I approach it. That's the only difference that I make. And I made that decision from day one because I didn't want to overpower it. Yeah, I could do sticks and stuff. There are some things that I do with her from time to time where when we do the Marvin Gaye tune, where I'll use sticks, but then I'm using my light sticks. I'm not using my heavy sticks. But for the most part, everything that I do with her, I use brushes. But the
How
rest
about
of
for
my
you,
application is just like with anybody else.
How about for you, Chico?
Yeah, it takes a little bit of time to really hear the intonation and match it up. It's a little harder than piano. I had the same problem stepping into at first. I was like, man, where's the piano? You know what I mean? You have to just listen and match up. You know, the vibration. You know, with the harp, and if one of us is out of key a little or out of tune a little or sharp, the other person's going to be right along with them because I'm going to follow her, you know what I mean, wherever she's at to match up the intonation. That was the hardest part. It was just, you know, really have to listen. And the dynamics, like Leon's talking about, are huge too. They got to have good dynamics, but, you know, that comes with the listening. But that was definitely the most difficult part for me. But now, you know, we just... she gave you that look, like if you hit her wrong note, so she gave you a look. about to move, get out the way. You get that shoe,
Now,
get that shoe coming.
he didn't have to worry about her. I'm gonna be the one.
The stick going. You done. Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, that was the challenge for me.
Was there any challenge for you, Destiny, in communicating what you want to the other members of your trio?
I feel like this beautiful configuration, they really heard me. And sometimes I would be playing with other folks prior to them, and they'd be playing loud or not listening. They just, especially when I would say, we're going to do these particular standards. We're going to do these particular standards. And I name off some, and they would play it just like that. I said, you don't hear the other tonalities and possibilities. No, I've been playing this. And they would tell me the number of years. We're going to play it like this. And they would just kind of run over. I was like, okay.
Now, with that, do you feel that, I mean, because in a way that is a bit of a lack of respect.
It really is.
Do you feel that disrespect was from at that time your lack of experience as a band leader, or do you feel that it may have had to do with the disrespect for the instrument, or even the disrespect for you as a band leader that's a woman?
All three.
Mm-hmm.
All three. All three. And what I was sharing, that's why I have to pray all the time so I don't cuss or cut somebody. So what I would do with those individuals when they would when they would do that, I just smile and say thank you, and I'd hand them their check, because it will never be said that Destiny Muhammad prevented that individual from eating. Because I know some of my male, you call that with them, you wasn't gonna get paid that night. You might come to fisticuffs at the end of the night. No, Here you go. Thank you. I have seen some of those people post, because what I have observed, it is imperative for me to treat everyone as nice as I possibly can, because I don't know who you are or who you know. And it is imperative for me to treat you as nice as possible. So now I see folks come up to me and they see that we've had this beautiful blessing to play at SF Jazz. We've had the beautiful blessing, Healdsburg Jazz Festival. I could name off the Inner Music SF and playing on the stage, not just once, but 4 times at the Harpist Theater. Back in the hood where I come from, they say, now they're coming to me eating cheese. Now you come and eating cheese, but I'm still kind to them. But I know my personal and professional distance has to be kept, because if you have shown your behind once, I'm not going to allow you to do that again, because then this time I do have to cut you, because now I know this was deliberate. So it's easier for me to keep my personal and professional distance from you. I'm going to still treat you cordially. If you needed help, you got that from me. But as far as having you as a part of this ensemble, no, sir. And perhaps even no, ma'am.
Right on.
And we talk. She and I talk a lot. And when I detect something is not right, I'll let her know. I inform her, and I keep her well informed of what's going on around her and stuff. And we've given people the axe and stuff. It may have taken a little longer than I wanted it to, but I still inform her. She is the band leader,
Right.
and let her handle her business.
That I will, but I've known that as 3, and I know that I've had to grow a lot. For those of anyone who has known me, I came to my instrument and to becoming a musician much later than my contemporaries. So there were many things I was learning on the job, similar to what we're doing now, having to learn during a pandemic time how to navigate online and record and perform. Literally, a lot of times I would go and to thank you, Khalil Shaheed, ancestor. He would give us a body of standards. I would learn them. And then I'd say, I got this hit, y'all want to play with me? This is before I met Chico and Leon. And I would take them out, and we would take those songs, those compositions by those composers, Miles Dewey Davis, Oliver Nelson. And we would go and hit at somebody's 60th birthday party with those compositions. And I was still learning, green as I could be. But I'm crazy enough to feel like I got something, and if I keep going, I can only get better, but I can't get better if I don't keep going. And people are falling off because they couldn't see the vision. And I don't. Leon has seen me cry. Ooh! He'd hand me a hanky and said, dry that face right now. Dry it up right now and get over there and get that work done. And we would do that, and we kept moving forward. That's why I can say people are coming up to me now. I get emails and text messages from folks that say, oh, well, if any of them can't play, I'm ready. Not even an apology for the previous behavior. It is those selective amnesia. I haven't forgotten. I've forgiven. I know you couldn't see me, but that doesn't mean that I didn't deserve the same respect as any of your selected celebrities in this industry.
Yeah.
So it is imperative for me, especially in this moment, I get to treat everybody nice. It's like a teacher saying, all of you in this classroom have A's until you show me otherwise. I shall.
And A's don't stand for.
What a day.
And I will share this. One of the things, that's what I can say that about Chico. Chico, even after we had done those dates of my original music, this youngster calls me up. He said, hey, Des, how about we come together and we shed? He said, as soon as I get off my job, I'm gonna go to my house, grab my bass, kiss my wife and kids. I'm coming. He come here and shed with me on some foundational. He said, let's shed and let's do this. It's that. Leon saying, come on. He said, why you not call me? We not playing? I can't play with you. Let's play. Let's do something. Come on. I'm on my way back to Monterey. Let's tune up some stuff that you was kind of choppy on, rough on.
Yep.
I'm on my way back
through.
But let me stop by your house and let's run that particular piece right there because you was messing up a little bit. And it's because I was trying to figure out the pedal changes on my feet to get the chord progressions right.
Do 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 do.
Oh my God, Dorothy Ashby's that song. We still argue about if that's on the 1 or the 5. You know, but see, it's that. When somebody, for me, when folks can hear, they can say, I can hear what you're trying to do. Let me get in there with you.
Well, those are the things that build foundation. That's how foundation is built. And it sounds like there's a real foundation with the Destiny Muhammad trio with Leon Joyce Jr. and Chico Lopez. Family on the bandstand, family off. Yeah. Thanks for inviting me to be a part of this today, Destiny.
Man, let me tell you, for you all who don't know, Greg Bridges remembers me when I started playing in Oakland at the Java House Coffee House, the one on Lakeshore. And he would come through and see me and was saying, I can see, he said, I already see Dorothy. I hear Alice. He was seeing that. We're talking 20 years ago, 1998, 99. Some of y'all
right, Friday mornings, you know.
Friday mornings, Chris Well called a retreat. Michelle Indigicello came through one time while we were there. I see. It said it's family, folks who have watched you. They said, I can hear what you're trying to do, and if you just stay at it, don't give up. I remember, and I know we got to get off because it's already time, but I remember Dwayne Oakley. If you know Dwayne Oakley, who he the upright bassist. He said, how long you been playing? And this is like 1998. I said, I only been playing about 4 or 5 years. He said, you can't even hear. He said, but when you can hear, you're going to be bad. He said, when you can hear, you're going to be bad. So here I am with these wonderful cats that I enjoy to play with. And I'm grateful. They get called to play other times. And sometimes I don't like it because I only want them to play with me. But I also, you know, because I'm greedy like that. I'm not gonna lie. But I also know that when they get those calls, I don't like it. Chris will just say he don't like it. I don't like it. But they say if you call us, we are there. There has not been one time that if they were going to be in town, I know I got them and we can hit this stage and just turn it out. So.
Yep. She shared her vision with me of what she wanted to do from the get-go, and I said, I'm in. I mean, again, what she was talking about when I'm on the road with other folks, I put her on the phone with me when I was on tour with Nina Freelon. Let her speak to Nina Freelon on the phone. Nina knew about her. I was in Toronto, Canada with another artist and was Sister Girl violinist.
Regina Carter?
Regina Carter.
It was Regina Carter. I put her on the phone with Regina Carter too. Regina had heard of her. I said, yeah, I work with Destiny Muhammad and stuff. She got to talk to Regina and stuff. So, you know, I'm out there with those people.
I didn't know that they knew me. And so I'm really grateful for that. And I'm really grateful for what we're going to do post-pandemic. All of our wonderful projects that are coming up. I'm just really, really, really grateful. You know, so No, I apologize. I hadn't answered any questions. I see here Tree Wisdom says, warm greetings. Thank you so much for tuning in. I know that's my sister Daphina. And happy birthday. Happy birthday. Yeah. And
Happy birthday, babe.
Juanique Verde. Thank you so much for recognizing the camaraderie. I really appreciate you all tuning in. Woo! I want to come to New York. I do. We want to, all of us. You just tell us what we need to do to make it happen. God bless you. We're looking forward to that. Hey there. That's right. Salam alaikum. Yes, Harpist from the hood for real, all day, every day. Compton, West Side. So look, we really do have to sign up because I know my folks got so much to do. I'm so grateful that you all could tune in. This is Destiny Muhammad and the Destiny Muhammad Trio with Greg Bridges on board. Wonderful brother, friend who's been supporting the music for it since Dirt Got Dirty, for real. We are going to be back on Thursday, November the 4th. We're going to do a dress rehearsal. You're going to see us have fun with our instruments. So we're inviting you again. Please tune in on Thursday, the 4th. I'm so excited, of November, 12 p.m. Pacific Coast Standard Time. Please tune in. We're actually going to be in person, the three of us, actually the four of us together, which is, I know it's tomorrow, beloved, but I like to say Thursday because if somebody look at the replay and they think it's tomorrow, it could be a Monday or a Sunday. You know, right?
Right. Like,
Right.
been there, done that.
And there don't be nothing happening. So please tune in tomorrow. Please tune in on Thursday, November the 4th, 2021. For those of you who are seeing it in a replay, this will be on YouTube on my channel, Destiny Muhammad, Destiny Harp. Please tune in on Thursday. Looking forward to seeing you all then. Have a super duper day. And please feel free to email us at go to my website, destinymuhammad.net. Sign up so you can get the link for tomorrow, for Thursday. And I look forward to seeing you all soon. Thank you all so much. This is so good. So good. Have a peaceful, prosperous, and successful day. See you Thursday. Peace out.